Good morning and welcome to the Northern Territory in the Black Indigenous Business Resilience Program. Today we're featuring again our deadly business from the Northern Territory who's going to take us through some really good tips and hints for your business. But let me start first by acknowledging the traditional custodians on the land upon which we are both meeting and talking today. I'm on Gimoy Wallaburri Yidinti country in Cairns, far north Queensland, but I acknowledge all First Nations people, our elders, past, present and emerging, and I extend my respects to you, your family and wherever you're listening today. So today in our yarning circle, it's our pleasure, absolute pleasure to welcome back Cian McCue. Cian is the owner and creative director of Moogie Down Productions. So welcome, Cian. Thank you for coming back again to join us.
It's a pleasure to be back.
Yeah, and you know we got an amazing amount of information from your presentation, you know, a few weeks back. So we're really looking forward to hearing what you have to say today. So yes.
Great. Yeah, looking forward to it. So taking a bit of a different direction today. So sort of touched on the last presentation, just touched on how to make an entrance into the digital marketing world. And you know, something that's really prevalent now, obviously, is we're living in a COVID world at the moment. So the way that we are marketing ourselves in business has had to adapt to that. So I just wanted to touch a little bit briefly on that, as it's something that we all need to make a shift towards, and it's something that's evolving, because it seems like we've been living in this world for years now, with COVID being a thing, but it's been 6 months. So the way we're marketing ourselves is changing with that. So on that note, I'll get the presentation up. All right. So yeah, today it's all about resilience, perseverance, and opportunity during crisis. I'll just, to start it off, I'll just do a bit of a recap on the previous presentation, just to sort of drive that home. So this quote is something that I love opening up with in a lot of presentations that I give. Something's happening. We're becoming a visually mediated society. For many, understanding of the world is being accomplished not through words, but by reading images. So this is a quote from Paul Martin Lester, who's a clinical professor at the School of Arts, Technology and Emerging Communication at California State University. I love this quote, and I've been using it for years. It encapsulates the way that Indigenous mob have always learned and passed on knowledge. Highly visual people, storytellers. So, this passing on knowledge is the way that we've done it for thousands of years through artwork, petroglyphs, carving, song, dance and storytelling. So when you look at it this way, digital marketing isn't daunting. Digital marketing is ingrained in us, and the digital side of things is just a matter of adapting it to the screen. So to recap the steps that I discussed in my last presentation, we got step 1 is determining who your target market is. Step 2 is establishing what platforms will work best for your target audience. Step 3 is to create content that your target market will find educational and useful. Step 4 is to publish content on your website, share URL links on social media platforms or wherever you can. And it's really important with this that you take high quality photos to accompany your content and email content to past clients. Can't stress this enough. You might have, your business might be really, really, breaking down barriers. But if you've got gaming little photos that you're putting up that are like real low res, people are just going to skim past you. They're not even going to give you a second look. So you trying to get some really high res glossy photos really helps sell it. And step 5, rinse and repeat each month and track your progress. See what's working for you, see what isn't. The beauty of a digital marketing strategy is that it can be fluid. It's when you look at traditional marketing with print, and it's really, really expensive, and you're locked in for a certain contract term, I should say. So if you were going to take out an advert in the newspaper or something, You know, it might be 6 weeks. You know, you might get an advert in there once every week for that 6 weeks. Costs you a mozza, and you have no idea. You can't track it or monitor what's working there, who's actually reading it. So the beauty of the digital marketing is that you actually can check your analytics, see who's looking at what, and adapt your strategy to suit it. So as I mentioned today, I'll touch on the way that we've had to change, you know, presenting ourselves in business, which in turn we've seen a shift in the way we prepare a successful digital marketing strategy. So I'm a man who loves quotes. This is another one that I've picked up recently. Silence is the most toxic strategy in crisis communication. So this is a quote by Jim Lukaczewski, who's actually an author, speaker, crisis management consultant, and president of the Lukaczewski group division. So he makes a living basically of going around talking to people how to market themselves during COVID-19. Last presentation, I spoke about a digital marketing strategy in a more broad sense, so touching on some of the main facets of a successful entrance into the world of digital marketing. This was a bit of an intro into what is now the world of digital marketing and the world in general that we all have been adapting to since around March this year. We're now in an unprecedented time with a global pandemic that has shaped how we live and do business. So on that note, it's also changed the way we're marketing ourselves in the current COVID-19 world. Been lucky enough to have been for the most part in Darwin throughout it all. So been really lucky in comparison to a lot of other main cities in the country and the world over. You know, with COVID-19 marking a change in the economy and a shift in digital marketing strategies. So with companies experiencing slowing or closure of business, we're experiencing breaks in cash flow, which means a digital marketing strategy is paramount along with a COVID risk mitigation plan. Leveraging off some of the steps for a successful strategy pre-COVID, we'll look at how we can adapt to the world we live in now. With the slow in business, some businesses are taking their foot off the pedal when it comes to marketing, but it's simply not feasible to fall off people's radars now. It's really important that we actually let people know we're still open for business, we're still operating, and what capacity that's at. So the first thing we need to do is adapt and do that in a timely manner as well. So like I said, you need to put your foot down on the gas and make sure you're still moving forward. Some brands have been able to think quickly and stay on their feet throughout COVID-19, adapting fast to whatever situation might arise, whether that's having to make business online rather than in person. Then, you know, just do it. I've found that a lot of businesses have been doing that, where the physical shop front might be closing down, but they're taking everything digital where they can. So we've seen this, for instance, in retail and hospitality. At the peak of the pandemic in Australia, home delivery for food, clothing, etc. was the norm. Even now, delivery is at an all-time high. So creating posts for your online platforms that make customers and clients aware of the business status or change in operations needs to follow step 3 and step 4 from my last presentation. So that's to create content that your target market will find educational and useful, and publish content on your website, share URL links on social media platforms, and again, make sure that it's nice and glossy and really sells your product. So people are looking for peace of mind, which is a big thing now, you know, because it's such an unprecedented time, and you know, it's been a really scary time. I speak, you know, for a little while, I was actually stranded over in Queensland when everything went belly up, and it was a really, really eerie experience just going to the shops, you know, trying to get bread and milk. You know, I just felt anxious. So people are looking for that comfort and solidarity, you know, the show of solidarity between everyone. So so people are looking for peace of mind that they're receiving safe services or products. So it's important to make posts as personable as possible. I used to do business. I used to be in a business networking chapter years ago, and I've kept in touch with a few of the members. And one of them is up on the screen at the moment, who's actually they're a real estate marketing photography business. So they've offered 3D scanning services of properties for a few years. And it's something that I've actually taken them up on before. You know, I did a fit out of the pediatrics ward up at Royal Darwin Hospital, and they got their 3D camera out, this bad boy here, took photos of the ward, and you can actually do a fly through of the ward, and it's really cool. So with everything going belly up with COVID, they really just started to plug this service online to their followers. And I'll just show you now just an example of that, because what they do is they do it really well. So they've got a really nice glossy website, you know, everything's here. And here we've got their 3D fly-through tours. So it gives people that peace of mind that they can still go and inspect a property from the comfort of their own living room without even having to, you know, come across anyone else. So it's just, yeah, it's really, really amazing technology, and they've been plugging that on social media for a while now. The other businesses that have actually picked up this approach is like museums and art galleries. So the Museum and Art Gallery, the NT, had to host their annual National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Awards this year via an online viewing service, which utilised this 3D photography. You know, it was a really smart move on their part, in that at first they didn't know what they were going to do. The Natsias has been going on for, I think this is its 37th year, and they were really worried that it was going to fall over and they were going to have to postpone them. But they got on the forward foot, revised the way that they were moving forward with it all, and made sure that they had this digital marketing strategy around that so they could promote it. So this great marketing strategy they had was all on social media, all on their website, just to make people aware of that format change. You know, a big factor that they had to worry about was the health of all the Indigenous artists whose art was in the exhibition. With, you know, the Territory's most at-risk people, who ordinarily they travel into Darwin from their communities and homelands for this event, they had to really, you know, really rethink how they were going to do it. So this year was all marketed as an online tour in order to keep people safe at home. I'll just show you now, like, you know, they do it really well. They've got all these beautiful photos all over their Instagram, and you know, really pitching their you know, the exhibition. And then on top of that, you've got here, this is the actual virtual exhibition. So it's really, you know, it's really amazing, and I think that this shows just how resilient we're all being in the face of adversity at the moment. So it's bringing me on to my next 2 points, to analyze, monitor, and review. So I mentioned at the end of my last presentation that it's really important to monitor what digital marketing approach works for your business. So depending on which direction you want to head in. This is even more important now, as digital sales might be the majority of where your revenue comes from. Monitor your brand, but also what happens to your followers. If your followers are gravitating towards a certain social platform, you need to be checking your analytics, trying to focus on posting where you get the most exposure. Online streaming, like one that I'll use an example here is there's a production that a friend of mine's on at the moment that's going to air next month, and they weren't sure how to actually get it out to the masses. Like, they really wanted to make sure that people were going to see it. So they've been really lucky in that they've been marketing it on Facebook, and I'll just show you. So they posted this one 6 days ago, and already they've nearly got 500,000 views. So hopefully, we're not going to say it's going to happen, but hopefully they can translate that to views when it actually goes to air. So yeah, this is great because they're ticking all the boxes here. They've got content that people really want to see. It's all about ringers out bush, and you know, this is what people want to see when they come to Australia, or when they think of, you know, the outback. This is what they think of, you know, Mad Max sort of style, sort of vehicles cruising around the bush. They've, you know, obviously the vision that they've shot is, you know, it's really beautiful, beautiful footage. You know, you got some characters here, so they're ticking a lot of boxes, and just getting it out onto their social platforms is proven to just be, you know, like I said, they've got 500,000 views in 6 days, so absolutely killing it. The other thing you need to do in all of this is respond. So your brand needs to let people know that they're still operational and to what capacity. It's important to maintain an online presence and respond to customers and clients to keep them aware of the business operating status and possible ways that it's adapted. This sort of goes back to people looking for, you know, looking for comfort and peace of mind. So, you know, if, you know, with Woolies offering their home delivery, you know, I know that they had to be really, really mindful of being able to respond to people in a timely manner to let them know, say, like, your groceries on the way, like especially for the elderly who might not have been able to get to the shops. Like, they needed to be kept up to date. You know, if there was anything wrong with their order, they needed to know straight away. And making sure that you're responding is is paramount. So some of my recommendations for brands at the moment would be to, firstly is to build relationships. So a lot of these points are just things that we should be doing in business anyway, and how we should be marketing ourselves digitally anyway. But, now more than ever, it's really important that we build those relationships, because, it's really uncertain times, and it's, it's just really important to make sure that people have that comfort, and they know that you're pushing out a good product and there's a good rapport. Which, look, it's a bit, I feel a bit conflicted saying that. Like, I look at some big brands marketing during COVID, and some of it might seem a bit, it's not really that genuine, I think, which is something you have to really be aware of. Saying, everyone's saying, oh, we're here for each other, sometimes if it's coming from a bigger entity, some people might think that it's not very genuine. So yeah, it's just something to be mindful of. Offer comfort and show solidarity. I've already touched on that. So it's just really important that everyone knows that you're here for them at the moment. Evaluate the best way to perform acts of kindness where possible. So, this is just going back to showing a bit of humanity. If you do something good and something great comes about because of one of your products, it is really nice to advertise that, but, do it in a tactful way. It can be overdone, and it can make it seem again that you're not very genuine. If everything falls over, with your physical presence, trying to maintain a digital presence is paramount. So a lot of businesses have opted to go this route. So that's where having a successful digital marketing strategy is really, really important. And just make sure that you let people know what you're doing. And finally, trying to make people happy. So, it's been a bit of a downer, and I know that people's mental health has taken a bit of a nosedive, especially for the people over in Melbourne who've had to, go into lockdown for so long. So just trying to bring a smile to people's faces is, it goes back to just showing a bit of humanity. But on top of that, laughter is the best medicine, and it'll really you'll be remembered by people. Like, your brand will be the one that'll go, oh, they were the guys who did that really funny, heartwarming sort of ad on Facebook, and they'll probably they'll remember that, and they might be able to tell friends about that. One that I think's done it really well is Audi Australia. So this is a video. It's a little 30-second clip which I'll show you in a second. It's just about their low prices, and it's a bit of a play on unprecedented times. They've got precedented prices, so they're not changing. They're cheap, and they do it well. So. Yeah, oops, sorry. Yeah, so might be a little bit cheesy, but they've ticked a lot of boxes there, in that it's it's a funny, light-hearted sort of ad that lets people know that they're still operational, they're here for you, and they've managed to rack up about 2.3 million views on YouTube with that one, so they're doing something right there. So just to cap it all off, in these unprecedented times, people are banding together and trying to get on with it. Case in point is this very NT in the Black Indigenous Resilience Business Program. It's a real show of people just trying to move forward with it all. So through all of this, if your business is able to persevere and reach target market, relate to them and make them smile, you stand a better chance at moving forward. I will pull that up there.
Thank you. That was really, really interesting. I just have a couple of things that I picked up. You said when you say marketing can be fluid, can you just explain what that means?
Sure. So to go back to how I mentioned with print media,
Mm.
you might say you take out an ad that runs for the 6 weeks. You're locked in for that period.
Yep.
You might have rubbish numbers. You might have the first week that it goes out, people might just skim past it. You've paid a couple $1,000 and you're seeing no return on it whatsoever. No one's picking up the phone to call you. It doesn't matter what you do. You're locked into that for that 6 weeks and you have to pay that out. With digital marketing, and how I say that it's fluid is that you might be able to start a campaign and it might fail miserably in the first couple of weeks, and it's inexpensive. You're not paying unless you do take out paid ads, but for the most part you're not paying. And if you can see it's not working, you can pull up stumps. It's easy to do that. You're not locked in. And it's fluid in that you can always add to it. If there's with that advert that I was talking about, and my background is traditionally in filmmaking and in print media. So if you had an ad that's printed and there's something that's changed, you have to actually take out a whole new advert. You can't just hop on and at the back end change a few figures and then pop that back up on Facebook. It's I think we're in a really it's a really strange time at the moment in that digital marketing is really taking off. While we're sort of waiting for to see what's going to happen with the economy, people are really trying to push it out there. And there are some businesses that have actually, or some industries I should say, that have really gone gangbusters throughout all of this. So home delivery for food, entertainment is one. Like I know that online streaming services have absolutely gone through the roof. People are at home, they're bored, so they're just watching Netflix back to back. So that's where Netflix have been really smart in that they've got a lot of their content out on social media just to advertise. Oh, there's a new coming this week. There's a new show that's up, and people are just jumping on that.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And it is true because digital media, we've even found with this program here, we might put something up and Leanne will attest to this, and then I might get a message and say, can you please change that? So then I can just make one phone call and, Leanne's in the background to quickly change, things. So it is very fluid. And the other thing which I think there's a few things here that I might get you to elaborate, but the human element to digital marketing, like when you were showing the ringers, in that Facebook, it's so people, we've found with this program, because it's all digital, all virtual, when we have, Indigenous Business Spotlight or yourself being into Indigenous business, that's when we get the most views. And I think it's because people can connect. Would you agree that? Because when people I find even with Tag Eyes and, we can put something up and we may get limited views, which we're like, we thought that would get a lot of views. But then we might put something else up and it'll get thousands of views. So it's really around that personal stuff. What are your thoughts? Because you were saying, making the content interesting.
Yeah, well, there's a formula to it, and it's looking at the human side of things, like having a post where it is you really get an insight into somebody's personality, maybe like when I talked about Manangrita Wild Foods, my last presentation, they have some really great stuff because you see these photos of there's the elder there, Leela from out there, who's passing on knowledge to the younger rangers who go out there and harvest the bush foods with her. And you really get to see that, and you almost feel like you're not a fly on the wall, but it's almost like you've just got this, you're just sitting there next to them, you're getting to see that. The other big one is pets, animals and children. So it's really, anything that can pull at the heartstrings, you're going to get a much bigger response.
Yes.
I know I can speak personally with some of the stuff that we produce. Like we obviously do the filmmaking side of things, but we also do animations, and there are pros and cons to both of those. So with animation, You know, we're out on country a lot and we work with a lot of different language groups. We might have one message that we want to get out to the people from all these different regions, and we find that an animation is probably the most inexpensive way, because you can have that animation with that same message, have that translated into language, and then that can go out, which is great. But then if it's something that's really, really personal and the message is, you know, you really want it to drive it home, we find that filming real people and real scenarios is really what gets people's attention. So you can't capture that emotion in an animation. But if you've got a close up of someone's face, whether they're happy, sad, angry, or whatever, you get to really see it. And, you know, just looking at that, you basically, all you've got, you feel like the lens isn't even separating you two.
Yeah, I really love what you just said then about catching the emotion, because, you know, and then people can make that human touch, and that's the same in business. You know, when I've talked about business, and we do talk about business, I always, you know, encourage people, because they will want to be a part of because they will catch your vision. They will catch your passion, you know, so catching that emotion, I think, is really important. And we can do that digitally as well, you know, which you've showed really well. It's, you know, that's an important part. The other thing I picked up was monitor your brand. You know, I think that's important as well. Do you have anything else you talk a little bit about monitoring your brand?
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, analytics is really handy, and just being able to monitor the number of views you've had. Like you said, you know, you might put up a post that you think is going to get likes and clicks and stuff, and it might not. So that's where you can monitor that and revise what the next post might be. If you had two side by side, and one is of, you know, if I took a photo of my office right now, you know, that's, no one's going to want to look at that. But maybe if I had some puppies in here, you know, people might click on it. So yeah, if you're able to sort of see what works and what doesn't, then that's really part of being able to monitor that brand and making sure that moving forward everything is heading in that right direction. So you don't want to be constantly doing something that's failing. Like you can't keep pitching something that's not getting likes, not getting the views, and being like, what's happening? Well, if you've been doing that for weeks now and nothing's changed, then, you know, abandon that approach.
Yeah.
And that's where that fluid marketing plan is good, and that you can go, well, that's not getting views, let's adopt this other
yeah.
So yeah,
that's great. And what if there are people out there, like they could be just a sole trader or a small business, and you were saying things about, you know, ensure you got a high res glossy photos, or you know, all that sort of stuff. Like if they don't have access, what if they've just got a phone, you know, to take photos? Is there any tips you can give them?
Yeah, easy. So this is actually, I do talk to a lot of small businesses about this. Currently, I'm actually working with a bunch of archaeologists who are out on site, and sometimes they have to do it all themselves, take photos themselves on their phone. And yeah, just offering people tips. You know, first and foremost, I'd say is that, you know, it's really important to try get the composition right. You know, you don't want to take one of those photos where there's like a finger in the shot or whatever.
Yeah.
And just make sure you framed it up right. Like if the product, you want the product front and center, you know, make sure there's nothing else in there that might be distracting. Lighting. So lighting is really, really important. You might have a bad camera, like even if you're shooting off your phone, like phones these days are pretty good. It's just really important that you actually get that lighting right, because yeah, again, having a dark, dingy photo is just, no one's going to look at it. But at least if it's nice and bright, people, you know, will be attracted to it a little bit more. You know, color is always a really good one as well. You know, depending on what you're trying to frame up, like if it's you know, some really, you know, say like with the Meningreta Wild Foods, they do it really well in that they're out on country, you know, they've got these beautiful bright fruits that they're taking photos of. And a lot of the time, the way that they frame it up is they'll have the photo of the fruit in someone's hands. So you're still getting that human element in there.
Yeah,
you get to see the hands of the person that's picked your fruit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also a lot of those mob, like, because they're the older mob, I find that really, like, you know, beautiful old hands have a lot of character to them.
Yeah.
And you can sell that. Like there are hand models out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they tick all the boxes, and I promise I'm not I'm not sponsored by them in any way, but
No.
I just think that they do it really well because, you know, they're out as remote as you can get. They're still getting views. They're still getting international interest. And it's just, they're shooting on their phones as well. So they'll go out and they'll just take a photo, nice light, you know, the beauty of being out bushes, there's a lot of sun out there.
Yeah.
So they frame it up well and get the views.
And I guess the other thing is, like with me, with, you know, previously in the previous business, you know, I had one of the team was an ex-documentary filmmaker and shoots of photography. And like I used to do my head in because she wouldn't take 1 or 2 or 3 photos. She would take so many photos of the same thing. And she said it was about capturing the right photo. And you know, I'm self-confessed one of those people who gets their fingers stuck in the selfie, you know, things I'll try not to now. Or I'll take them and it's really blurry, but I'll still be posting. And, you know, and I'll often get a comment like, stop doing that, you know, but it's just a photo. But you realise, but the other thing I found was practice. You know, take the photo, have a look at it, take the photo, have a look at it.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
to try and get the good shot. So
it's really important that you do that. You know, it's probably going one step further. Like in my industry, you know, we'll do that and we'll actually look at the settings that we've had for each shot, like on the camera, and you go, oh, okay, so that was the shadow and everything, and that looked really nice. I've overexposed it in this one. I don't like that. So yeah, you can do that with the phone, like you're saying. Take a photo, have a look at it. A lot of like people will look at these Instagram photos of Instagram models and think, oh, that's such a you know, like they've just caught them in the right time. They haven't. It goes back to taking a lot of photos and seeing what works and then going with that.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff that you know you can test out at the back end is really important. And you know, I speak on it. You know, for myself, I was a sole trader for a number of years, and I had to do all of that stuff at the back end by myself, make sure it was all good. But if you can afford and chip away and actually put some money towards someone else coming in, a professional, if that's not your business, if you can get a professional to come in, frame up the products or services that you want to sell and take some high quality photos, do that down the track when you can. Like, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. And just the last thing, which is so important, especially in these times, or even before that, like it's responding to the customers, because there's nothing worse if you send a message via, it could be their Facebook, their Instagram, whatever it is, even an email, and you don't get a response. You know, and that really can turn people away from your business. So that was, you know, I really like what you said about, you know, responding, letting people know you're still operational, responding to your customers, you know, is so vital.
Well, you know, it's really important for everybody to do that. But if you look at, say, I hate using this term, but like a bigger sort of faceless sort of corporation, the way that they still, you know, personalize a business is by doing that. So you see some really good examples online where someone's complained about a service or product on, you know, I think I've seen some good ones on IKEA, on IKEA and Audi before, where people have complained about something, and they've got a whole team of people sitting at the back end who are drafting responses to it all. And some of them are really, you know, they're really concise but really funny, short, sharp, and sweet sort of posts that, you know, get the message out there. And, you know, they tend to generate a lot of likes from other customers who see that and they're like, oh wow, like, so they are looking at our you know, our queries.
And I think that, you know, the analytics part is, you know, if you, even with your website, you can track who's looking at your website or who's looking at things. They're really important too, because then, you know, if you see it's a current, you know, a constant of the same people looking, well, that gives you an avenue as well to reach out.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. Like some months I look at the analytics of our website and I'm like, oh, you know, we're down a little bit this month. What do we do wrong? But, you know, I think, and I speak, you know, on what we're doing is that we have stagnated a little bit in the last couple of months with our digital marketing, because we're trying to get a new website off the ground, which hopefully is headed in the right direction. and yeah, just really trying to do some stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, I can speak on that. Yeah, I've had down numbers, and hopefully when the new website's up, we'll turn that around.
Yeah, it's just like someone who's a car detailer and their car is.
Yeah, it's.
But the thing is, like, and we've spoken this about before, you know, you're so much into your business and doing everything in your business, you know, it's hard to step out, but it is important. But thank you again today, Ken. That was really informative. And, you know, I think the people who are viewing this will get a lot out of that. But if you are just listening in, if you're listening this via Facebook, you can comment on using the word deadly below, and one of our team will be in contact. If you're wanting to know more about digital media and marketing and how you can do things, and you're wanting a really highly reputable Indigenous company, I just really, you know, go and see Ken, give the company a call if that's all right, Ken. You know, Moogie Down Productions, you know, to have a look at, you know, about what you can do about your digital marketing, you know, media, because it is so important in these times, you know, with the tips and the hints that you provide us here today, Ken, and previously. And like you say, like I do understand that in business, we can try and do things ourselves, but sometimes when you people don't think about putting a bit of money aside for our social media and for our marketing, because sometimes we need to take it to the next level that we can't do ourselves. That we need to actually get someone in to do that, because there is a really big difference in doing that. So, you know, I encourage businesses out there to reach out to Ken and the team at Moogie Down Productions. If you're watching this via YouTube, just click on the links below, and one of our team will be in contact. So we'd like to thank you for tuning in today and listening and getting some really deadly tips and hints. But let us finish by how we started today, by paying respects to all of our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ancestors, our elders, our communities, and all of our families here today. And we just thank you for listening, and thank you again, Ken, for coming. It's very, very informative.
Absolute pleasure.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.